Hello, welcome all. So in this video, we are going to learn about REST APIs and the various annotations of a Spring Boot. Okay, so first of all, we are going to initialize a Spring project with certain dependencies, and then we will open that project in IDE, and we write some controllers. Controllers are nothing but the entry point of the Spring Boot project. If we will define the endpoints or URLs through which we can execute the business logic of the controllers and write the logic within the controllers. Yes, and call the endpoints or URLs via Postman. And we are going to test all the URLs or endpoints via Postman, not any browser, because we can use certain protocols in the Postman also, that is get, put, delete, post, and there are others also. So, and also we will be learning about more about annotations. Okay, so let's start the video. At first, we are going to initialize the Spring Boot project. Now, Spring Initializer we will be using. So, Spring Initializer. Okay, let's click on it. Okay, so in the project section, we will choose Maven. Maven is a build tool which is used to manage and get all the dependencies together. The language, of course, will be Java, and the Spring Boot version is 3.3.2. We are not choosing the snapshot version because it might have some uh, changes in this version which will not is compatible with the project. The package name I'm going to write is this, and the artifact is nothing but the name of our Spring Boot project. So I'm going to write it as demo for now. Demo. Okay, the rest of the things we keep it as it is, nothing fancy here. And let's add some dependencies. The first dependencies we are going to use is web dependency, which is very useful in Spring Boot applications for building web services and Spring MVC. And another annotation we are going to use is DevTools. It's a dependencies which makes the work of developer much easier. It is just for the ease of the developer. So what it does basically, it provides the fast application restarts. If we write something in our program, then we again have to rerun our whole project. But using this dependency, we do not have to run it again and again. We will just save it and all the changes will be reflected automatically. Okay, so let's choose this. Now these two dependencies will be fine. Okay, let's generate the project. Let's give the location as downloads and save it. So you can see the project is downloaded here in the zip format. Let's open it from Explorer. Go to the downloads, and here it is. Now we need to extract it. So let's extract it so that we can open it in our IDE for further coding. Okay, so this has been extracted, and you see these are the number of features we are getting, guys. We have not even started coding yet, and we have got all these features. Okay, pretty much good. So I'm going to use STS, which is Spring Tool Suite, for my coding. You can choose any IDE such as IntelliJ, Eclipse. Totally depends upon you. So let's create, not create, let's open some projects from file system, and we will be using this directory here. And go to downloads, demo, and here it is. So let's click on it, select the folder, and finish. Okay, so you guys can see this building. Okay, let's see our project. Here this is the main Java, and here we have all the file. This is the file that we got. This is basically just like the entry point. Just in a normal class of Java, we have public static void main through which we get entry into the program. First that execute and then it goes to the other application. Just like that, we have this class which is annotated as Spring Boot application. This annotation is mandatory in order to make an application as a Spring Boot application. So first let's run it and test it. Even it is it working or not. This out println is a shortcut for that. And I'm going to write program executed. And one more thing, guys, we can run a Spring application using two ways. One is through Maven and one is through IDE. So first, I'm going to show you how to run it through Maven. Let's save it first and go to File, not this file, the project file. Right click on it and you will see this dialog box. Now click on Run As and here choose Maven build. Okay. In the code section, you have to write clean. This is the command for running Spring Boot colon run. And now enter. Let's wait. Guys, see it's scanning for projects, and soon we will be able to see the Spring logo. Wow, guys, you see the Spring logo. It gives another level of satisfaction seeing the Spring logo. At least our application is running. So at the end, we are getting the message program executed, which we wrote here. These are nothing but the logs which appears in the console. Okay, so far so good. We can see our application is running perfectly as it is in running state. So we stop it and see the other method. So we can stop it from here. Let's stop it. It's no longer running. It's no longer taking the port 8080. Now we need to run. We can also run it from here. Click on this. Click on Spring Boot app. Run as a Spring Boot app. Click on OK. We will see the Spring logo first. Yes. So this is another way of running a Spring application. Program executed. It can run both the ways. So let's test this. Is it really running or not on port 8080? Localhost colon 8080. Yes, it is running. We are getting something. If it were not running, then we would never get something. But here we are getting all these things. But we have not defined any endpoint. That is why we are seeing this. Okay, no worries. We will define that too. So we need to make a controller. You guys know this. So we have initialized and open project in ID. Now we need to write controllers. So we write controllers in controller package. This is a demo package for all the applications, but we need a controller package. So let's click on package and controller, enter. So this is the package for controller. Let's add a controller here. Create a controller with the name addition, addition controller, in which we will be performing some additional operations. Okay, so normally controllers are marked by the annotation at the rate controller and rest controller. So I'm going to mark it as rest controller. Okay. Instead of rest controller, we can also mark it as, okay, let's comment it out. We can also mark it as controller, but only this will not going to help us. In this, we also have to write response body. These two combination is equal to the rest controller. So we generally used to prefer using the rest controller. Okay, so let's uncomment it. Okay, so now we need to write a method in a class, obviously. Okay, so write public, the method will be public, and the data type. So let's not worry about the data type, just like simply void here. As we will go on further, we will keep making changes according to the logic that we are writing. So public logic add. The name of the method is just simply add. No parameters I am passing, nothing fancy. Just going with the flow now. Okay. Now, as we are doing addition, So of course we will be performing some addition that's common. So let's int num1 will be 10 and in num2 int num2 will be 90. The sum will be 100, right? And what do we do next? We store the result in a result variable num1 plus num2, and then we can return the result. Okay, why the error is coming? Void methods cannot return a value. Now we know that we are returning a value which is of type integer. So we also need to change this as integer. Logic. As you write more code, you will be getting more logic. Okay, so our controller, our method is ready, but now there is one thing, which is the endpoint. We have not defined it yet. Okay, so let's write it. Endpoint for this method, I'm writing for now request mapping. We can get any request here, post, get, any request. So slash add, this is the endpoint. Okay, so I'm saving this. You can see all the changes are automatically being reflected here due to that dev2 dependency. Okay, now I will go to the Postman testing this. Go to Postman and let's create another collection here. Blank collection. Okay, I'm going to name this collection as demo, and within demo, we will add a request. So add request. Okay, let's request. Keep it as it is. We are not going to change it. Now, what about the URL? So we are going to write http colon slash slash localhost and the name of the port, server port, and then we write the endpoint using slash. Okay, what's the endpoint? Let's go here. So firstly, the class has no endpoint, so we will not write any. So we will come to this. This is the endpoint that we will write, and it will give us the sum of two numbers. So let's see this. I am going to write add. Let's enter. Yes, and it is giving us the sum of those two numbers. 100. Perfect. Our application is running perfect. Our endpoints are working perfectly. So let's add a one more endpoint here, which will be request mapping. Uh, Now we have defined one endpoint here. So first we will need to mention this endpoint, and then we will need to mention this endpoint. Okay, we can't neglect that. So let's save it first so that the changes are reflected here. Okay, so now let's go to the Postman. Now if we run this, this will not going to work. Why so? No static resource found, because we are not using the correct endpoint. Now here we will write operations and then add a method. Now let's run it. 100 is coming. So it's all about endpoints, what we write here in the URL. How do we fetch it? Okay, pretty much good. Now, what are we going to do? Uh, it's another thing is we should use logs while we are running the program. Logs are nothing but the thing that is displayed on the console. Okay, we need something to display on the console while our program is running, while our application is running, which will going to help us track the flow of our application. It's mainly used to debug the application. So we are going to write here uh, this out, and here number one will be uh, number one will be number, and another number we are going to do is num2. Copy pasting so that I save some amount of time. Now result also we will be printing along with it. It will be printing on the console. The moment we hit the URL or the endpoints in the Postman, it will appear here. Let's write it. Okay, so I'm saving it. Sorry. Okay, so the program is executed here. But why is it not coming? The thing that I wrote here, SOPLN, why is it not coming in the console? Because we have not hit the endpoint yet. So let's go to Postman and let's run it. Send. We can see 100. Now we can see here these number are there. Number 1 is 10, number 2 is 90, and the result is 100. So logs are very essential. Logs are essential. We always, it's a good practice to include logs in your project, your application. Okay, so now we are taking this parameter here inside the method. Now let's take it as parameters. We are initializing this inside the method. Now we will using parameters. So let's remove it from here. And okay, we can take the parameters using two annotations, request param and path variable. Now what is the really difference between both of them? So the request param is used to extract the request parameters from the URL, and it is optional basically. But the path variable is a mandatory parameter. The path variable, what it does, it is used to extract the values from the URI template. Okay, we will see this one by one. So let's use request param here. So this is request param. I'm copying request param and in num1 and request param in num2. Okay, we have taken this. So in request param, we also need to mention the name of the variable in the URL, the Postman. Let's see the example. I'm saving it. Okay, it's executing. Now, now this will not going to work. Let's see. Will it work or not? Bad request. No required parameter here. So we need to add those parameters which we added in that. So question mark num1 along with the variable name num1 is equal to 12 and and num2 is equals to 10. Now we will hit enter. It will give us the result. We get 22. We can see that here. Perfect. So this is how it works. But instead of request param, if I write here path variable, this is the path variable thing here. And now also here I would like to write the path variable. So it will extract the value from the URL. So we also need to pass the value in the URL of num1 in the curly braces, which it defines the value. And this is num2. Okay, perfect. Now it is ready to run. Let's save it. Let the changes be reflected. Program is executed. Let's go to the Postman. Now this will not work because it's no longer using the request param. It's using the path variable. So instead of defining the variable name, we just simply write the numbers like 15 and 90. That's it. We are getting a 05. So this is how path variable works. Okay, let's see this on the console. We are getting it. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference between the path variable and the request variable. So we learned something about the annotations. Now there is few more left, which I am going to tell you, which that is get mapping, post mapping. Now what are these annotations? And also put mapping delete mapping. So the first one is get mapping. So whenever we want to fetch any result from the server, we use get mapping. And post mapping, whenever we want to send something to the server, we use the post mapping, generally the parameters or the values. And the put mapping is used to update. If we want to update something on the server, it is used for input mapping. And in delete mapping, it is used when you want to delete something. Okay, so we write the controllers defining the endpoints, logic, call the endpoints via Postman and test them. Now there is something left, which is we need to work on more controllers. Let's see one more examples here. So this is the controller package. I'm going to add one more controller here, class, and I will name this controller subtraction controller. Run, enter. Okay, so let's annotate it with the rest controller. Okay, I have not shown you about that rest and controller thing. Okay, so here we are using rest controller. What if we do not use the rest keyword here? Rest here. Okay, let's save this. Okay, till now it was working perfectly fine. We just run this command, it is working fine. So let's do it again. Why is it giving us error? Unknown return value. Because we have removed rest from here and only controller is there. But along with controller, what did I tell you? We have to use response body in order to make it work. Now let's see. Save it. Make it program executed. Now, now let's hit the button. Now we are getting it. So that is the difference. Now we again use the rest controller here. This is what I wanted to tell you guys. Okay, so let's go to the subtraction controller. Again, we are going to write a method from the scratch. Public void subtract. Okay, so in this we will be using request param. In the previous one, we use path variable. Request param in n1 and request param in n2. Okay, now we will be returning n2 minus n1. But here the thing we are returning is of the type int. So we also need to make a change here. Let's make it integer. So now it is giving no error. What about the endpoints? Okay, let's mention that also. This out. Number one. Number one is n1 and sys out. Number two is n2. Okay, so we have also given the logs. What else? The endpoints. Endpoints are left. So in this, I'm going to give the get mapping. Let's use the get mapping. And the endpoint I'm going to give here sub as sub for subtract. Okay, so we are pretty much good to go. Let's save it. And here we are not giving any endpoint, guys. This is a thing to note. Here we were giving a request mapping endpoint, which we have to use to call this operations. But in the subtraction controller, we are not giving it. So we can directly use sub. So let's see how it works. So let's remove all this. Okay. Sub. And we can give any number, right? Okay. So I have given it 10. Why is it giving me error? This is because of two things. Because we are no longer using the path variable that we are defining directly the values. We are using the request param. So we also have to define the we also have to define those values, those data type, the variable name. Okay, so let's define it. After subtraction, let's put a question mark. N1 is equal to 25 and N2 is equal to 12. Now will it work? There is one more change to be made. Now let's see. 13. This is a get mapping. So let me make it post mapping. I thought I made it post. Okay, post mapping I made it. Import it. Okay. So this method is post mapping, but this method is get mapping. Request mapping by default is get mapping if we do not define any mapping here. Okay, so this is post mapping. Now it will not run because here we are using get. This is the URL. It will not run now. See the error. HTTP request method not supported. So let's use post and then let's run it again. Now it is working fine. So this is what post and get mapping do. And if we want, we can also define an endpoint here. Request mapping does same endpoints operations and also one more endpoint here, subtract, just for the learning purpose. I did it. Okay, let's run it again. Now the endpoint has been changed. First it will check here and then it will check here. Now let's see. The endpoints now have changed. So this will no longer work. You can try. Not found. No resource found except. So let's change it. So after port 8080 we write operations and after that we are going to write subtract which was there in our endpoint and then after sub it's already there and then after sub and then the values. Now let's hit it. It is giving us answer. So it's all about the endpoints we are using here. The same endpoints will be used here. Whatever endpoints we are using above the method body. And we also get to know about the request param and path variable. So this is the path variable and that is the request param, the difference between both of them. Okay, so we have made two controllers. Let's write one more function within the same controller and let's keep it request mapping only slash we are using here. This will be of type string, public string. Public string sample. Keep it in, keep it as sample, and here we are returning something as a string, which is hello world. Let's save it. For this, we need to write this. In order to invoke this method, we only need to write a slash. Let's see. Uh, Post mapping, no, we no longer use the post mapping. We will use the get mapping. Operations will be there, and let's remove the all of them. Only till operations because this is the endpoint here. But how do we access this? Using this slash? Yes, using this slash. Now let's make it an endpoint. We are getting some error. No resource found exception error. Why are we getting this? We are passing a string. Let's try passing here a string. Request map. Oh, what is it? Operations string is a get mapping, right? Okay. we are getting the hello world. But why are we not getting it? Let's do this here, and here also let's remove the string. Now let's see. I don't know why that was happening. Let's see it again. Now if I send this, we are getting, yes, now we are getting it. So the hello world, only slash was there in order to print the hello world. Also we can print any static resource here for all the static resources that go in the static folder, like the HTML files we work with. Now let's also create an HTML file. Okay, class, and file name is HTML index.html. Create. Now write some code in this HTML, at least I know normal HTML, normal HTML. Yeah, and, within this we are writing the body. So inside body there is a paragraph tag, which will be hello world, the most ever used text, hello world. Now let's save it. And here I am, instead of this, I will be using index.html, index.html here. Okay, let's save it. Hmm. Now hit this, you can see we are getting this as text. But if we remove rest from the controller, then it will going to give us an error or not. Let's see. It's not giving us an error. So because the static resource is being found, that is why it is doing. So we are pretty much done on the concepts of the endpoints and the REST controller thing here. Instead of storing it in result, we can just directly return this in num1 and num2 to make our program shorter. Actually, we always uh, should see where we can make our code a bit shorter. Okay, now this looks better, and also remove this comment. So the path variable, let it be. Now we will be calling this using the path variable again. Will it work or not, to see. Operations, add value, another value. Let's send the request. Connection timeout, unknown return value type. Why is it showing that? Let's see. We have used operations. We have used AND here, num1, num2. Then what is the error we are getting and why we are getting this? So let's see. Operations, add. Let's see. Operations, add num1 and num2. Rest controller is also there. Okay, we have not saved it, I guess. That is why it is generating an error. Now let's see. Yeah, 246 we are getting it. Okay, so that is it. Uh, we have done about, we have covered the concepts of Spring Boot. Open the project in ID, write some controllers and define some endpoints, call the business logic and call the endpoints via Postman and test them, and get to know about all the annotations that we used in the Spring project. Now in the next video we will be learning more about Spring. Thank